The Irish media is all on about the Deputy Prime Minister Simon Harris and leader of Fine Gael having received threats of violence to him and apparently to his young children. Now, for 50 years, at least, if not more, Irish politicians had to fight the loyalist paramilitaries in the north coming down, and they come down here and put off bombs, and the PIRA, the Provisional IRA, which was the forerunners to Sinn Féin. There was real threats against them. One minister was Paddy Cooney, Minister for Justice, and all of those people had 24-hour Garda protection. And if their families were threatened, it would also be on their families. A lot of that was taken off after the 2008 crash, because a lot of the ministers really had little or no profile or nothing that would aggravate anybody, and that was all right. But there's nothing preventing the Garda Commissioner for ordering protection on any politician. Simon Harris lives in Wicklow. He is in receipt of bad press over the migration crisis, which I'll deal with separately, and over the fact that before he got elected, he said he would not allow any child to die from sclerosis of the spine. Now, I'm not very familiar with it. A boy had sclerosis. It was brought to the attention of government, and apparently nothing was done. I do not know, and maybe somebody would post underneath, would it have taken 10 million in a clinic in America to repair the chap? Or could it have been done in Ireland? Or what was the reason why he couldn't be operated on? He must have been in a lot of pain. But at least if there had to be communication between the government and the child and the young person, I would be loath to apportion blame. But it appears that he never intended keeping his word about sclerosis, that once he got elected, it was, I'm all right, Jack, and you can go to hell. Now, if somebody has a different story, go ahead. I don't spend all my days looking at the minute details of the news. Anyway, the unfortunate chap died. And that is very sad. And I would say there would be a certain amount of anger at that. I don't know, has he given any explanation? Has anyone given an explanation as to why nothing was done? What could have been done? Was it specialist surgery somewhere here or in the north or in the UK? We don't fully know, and I admit that. But we can see there would be anger. Now, there is another big source of anger for Mr. Harris, and that is he is strongly committed to the woke agenda. His government allows teachers to be sacked from the school for calling a by him, and allows no relief when the law comes down and jails those teachers. I'm talking about Enoch Burke. Nothing done at all there. Now, Winston Bennett is a Cavan County Councillor of long standing of the Fine Gael party, and he was on today saying it's not good enough either. It's a disgrace. Something should be done. Now, just think of this. Simon Harris has been part of the government for decades. In ministerial roles. The Republic of Ireland has a police force called An Garda Síochána. Some of these threats, admittedly, were made online. Nobody tells us what effort has been made to investigate it. The Gardaí will not investigate abusive calls online. You needn't go in and report it. They simply will not investigate it. In my time, I was a detective sergeant. We always put down reports up to Dublin and they had to go into the communications section. And about 2 weeks after you get a report down, who owned the phone? So a lot of these abuses are done on the phone. There is no problem locating the phone, getting the owner and finding out all about the telephone and going and taking action against the criminals. The reason they won't do it is that I get a lot of abuse because I'm against the windmills and probably someone who's for windmills puts them up to give me abuse. And I found that the way to get them really annoyed was insult the Prophet. Because they're Muslims, a lot of them, not all. They're usually Nigerian Muslims. The reason why An Garda Síochána will not investigate these is that they would have to go and arrest Nigerian and Muslims from all over the world and bring them to court, and they don't want to be doing that because it'd show the immigration policy in bad light. In the case of the internet, there are ways, I'm sure, of following through a tweet or a post on Facebook through the email address of the person. There are ways and means of doing it. Yet, what we get from Winston Bennett and from Simon Harris and Fine Gael, and indeed the Taoiseach Micheál Martin, is whinging. Whinging. Imagine we live in a country where the response of the government to outrageous abuse and threats against the children of ministers or any child who has no connection with the policy of his parents. Imagine the only response is to cry and to appeal that this is not on and to say it's shocking and we need more sympathy. I accuse Simon Harris and to a lesser extent Winston Bennett of just trying to conjure up sympathy for an already failed, hopeless, stupid politician, Simon Harris. I accuse him of that's the reason. They won't investigate these because they feel it might bring the recent migrants into bad light. I also make the point that such offences on the phone will not be investigated. When I was in the Garda Síochána, we would investigate them, follow them through and find one or two. And once you detected one or two, they would all stop. This is the real disgrace. No government Minister for Justice should be whinging. The previous Ministers for Justice, like Paddy Cooney, would not be whinging. He'd condemn whoever was trying to kill him. They blew up the British ambassador in Murphystown Road in Dublin way back in the early 80s or late 70s. You don't appeal or whinge to the culprits of crime. You detect them and bring them before the court. And then Winston Bennett said, I want them brought before the court and stiff sentences. Isn't he part of the party that's in government? Where are the stiff sentences? We're approaching two-tier justice. In Britain, you have two-tier justice. You have one law for the British people and one law for the recently arrived migrants, homosexuals, and other so-called protective status. Isn't it a sad situation, folks, that the Minister for Justice has to resort to tears, to cry like a baby at criminal activity? And if he can't deal with it, what hope is there for you or I? 4 years ago, I spoke to a senior crime examiner, I'm 20 years gone out of it, who told me he was disgusted that he could tell the local Gardaí who committed crimes from his forensic evidence, and they simply would not follow it up. That's the real disgrace. Now, Mr. Bennett, you can discuss this with me. You're very welcome to come on my channel and we'll talk about it civilly and cordially, but firmly. Simon Harris, likewise. Meanwhile, you, Simon Harris, hump off and stop your bloody whinging, you big old baby, you. and go and get the guards to investigate crime, including nuisance phone calls, and set up a proper unit to do it. And never mind your hate speech laws. Go and look after the ordinary people. Comment on the late, we'll see you back soon. Now I accept that Mr. Harris is not the Minister for Justice at the minute. Helen McEntee was the last one, and there's another one now. He's still a minister in government. They get round the table every Thursday and discuss it. And it makes no difference who the Minister for Justice is. They're not going to investigate crimes unless it's for the migrants and unless it's for LGBTQ and wokes. Not going to do it. And then the whinge when they get abused. Could be someone connected with the boy that unfortunately died, may he rest in peace. Could be a migrant, whoever it is, and they're not going to find him anyway. And I now tell Winston Bennett, tell them to get the guards doing it. And if the guards do their duty, they'll be laughed at. If you got a good guard there to investigate that and go through the motions, he'd never get on in the job. They'd banish him. It happened to me when I'd solve crimes and when I wouldn't go with the flow and put the people first. They always abused me and did whatever they could to destroy me and my career. And only I was fit for them in the guards, they'd have done it. But I was too smart, and not everyone is as smart as I am. Go and enforce the law. Stop your bloody whinging, and you the minister. Stop it, and go and get the people who did it and bring them to justice. And all you're doing is trying to get sympathy for your next presidential candidate. I vote Fine Gael because, oh no, they got an awful lot of abuse. Just think of it. The Deputy Prime Minister of Ireland resorting to crying for criminal activity against him and his family. The President of Ireland has a guard at 4 different spots in the Phoenix Park. There are 4 uniformed guards protecting the President. And I'll bet you there's a hut below at where Harris's home is. They always had guard the protection. They won't investigate it. We'll see you back for something else. Comment underneath.